Hello, my beautiful people. It is your girl Diana, and I am back with a video. Today, I'm going to be talking about 10 things to avoid when learning to sew. So, a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Diana. Again, I am the founder and owner of Sew Unique Studio. I have a hands-on and online sewing class, sewing course, whatever you want to call it. My hands-on class is located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, Hampton Road, 757, whatever you want to call it. And I have an online class called Sew Unique Studio. It's SEWUNIK.com, where I teach you how to tap into your inner creativity through sewing. I have been teaching and sewing. Well, I've been sewing for 5 years, been teaching for 2. I absolutely love it, and I want to teach you how to advance your sewing journey. So before I get started, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. You like this video, give me a thumbs up, all of that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm gonna get started with 10 things to avoid when learning to sew. Now, these are things that I have done, I have known people to do, and it does not turn out well. So listen up. The first thing that I wanna talk about is when you are buying your sewing machine, what we not gonna do, you try to get a sewing machine that got 11 stitches, okay? So let me be serious real quick. When you buy a sewing machine that has all of those stitches, you're literally not going to use all those stitches. Anybody that's in the sewing industry or a sew-it-sew or whatever you want to call it, we're gonna tell you that we probably use 4, maybe 5 stitches, straight stitch, zigzag, buttonhole, maybe 1 or 2 others. That's it. We're not using all those decorative stitches, all of those other stitches that's on there. We're not doing all that. So when you get a sewing machine, do not base that sewing machine, you behind that sewing machine, off of the amount of stitches that sewing machine can do, because I can promise you, you're not gonna use all those features. Boom, that's number 1. Number 2, know your sewing terms. Now, what I mean by knowing your sewing terms is knowing the basic sewing terms. So it can be, what is a gathering stitch? What is a basting stitch? What is a straight stitch? What is a zigzag? What is a back stitch? All of those different simple terms you need to know, because when you start to get into patterns, they're going to talk about terms that you may not know what they're talking about. That's why it's important to know what terms are used when sewing. Number 3, stop reading the sewing instructions. The steps, not the instructions, the steps. When you buy a pattern from the store, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, whoever, whatever you buy your patterns from, and make sure you get them on sale. Okay, quick plug. Do not read the steps. This is one way that you're going to take that and put it back in the envelope, throw it to the side, and you might not ever pick it up again. Make sure you do not read the steps. What you do need to read is the general instructions. So when you open up your envelope, there's going to be your general instructions. There's going to be some other tips when you're working with, like, say, knits. It'll tell you what type of tips, things to keep in consideration. Your general instructions are going to tell you what your seam allowance is going to be, the terms used. Number 2, know your sewing term. Okay, anyway, terms that's going to be used in that pattern, things that you need to know to get ready to make that particular project. Now, when you start reading the steps, you're going to be like, what the heck are they talking about? I can't do this. I'm going to put it to the side. It doesn't work. Even I don't read the steps because I get confused and I get intimidated. So let's not read the steps. You want to read the steps only when you are about to make that project. Okay? Number 5, this one, you probably heard it before. Read the manual. Read your sewing machine manual. And I know it's like, oh, people always say that, but really, you will be amazed at some of the features your sewing machine has. If you won't know those features that your sewing machine has, or what different things your sewing machine can do if you don't read your manual. Okay? So just take a few days, a day or 2, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and read your manual. They give you that manual for a reason. Read it. That's the first thing you need to do when you get your sewing machine. Take that manual out and read. Don't be throwing it to the side and all of the other stuff. Read it. Okay? Number 6, understand needles. Y'all kill me. Y'all be using the same needle that came in your machine until it break. That's ridiculous. First of all, you're supposed to be changing your needles like people say every 8 to 10 hours or whatever the case may be. I don't do that. I do it like every few projects. But when I say change your needles, not only should you change your needles when it breaks, of course you're gonna change it then, but you need to be changing it way more than that. And you need to understand what type of needle to use with what type of fabric you're working with. The needle that came with your machine is probably the universal needle that is mostly used on woven fabrics. But if you're working with knits, you need to use a stretch needle. And I'm gonna get into that in another video. But the point I'm trying to make here is understand needles and understand when to use those needles, what type of needles that are available, okay? If you're using jeans, you're sewing jeans, you need to be using a jean needle or a heavy duty needle. Working with leather needle. Y'all get the point? Okay. Number 7, backstitch. We need to be backstitching. Like, if you're not backstitching, what is backstitching? Y'all probably don't know what term. It's okay. I got you, sis. Backstitch is when you reverse your needle and make the needle go backward. Your feet dogs, they reverse and they go backwards on your project. So whenever you're making a project, let's say you're making a shirt. At the beginning of that project, let's say you're making a sleeve and it's about this long, you're gonna backstitch at the beginning and then backstitch at the end to secure those threads. Because if you do not backstitch, your threads are gonna come loose. It's not secure enough by just a normal straight stitch in order for your fabric not to come loose or your thread not to come loose. So you need to do a backstitch at the beginning and the ending of that particular stitching. Take your time. Number 8, take your time. We are not in a rush. Take your time. Do not get upset when something goes wrong. You are new to this. You are going to make mistakes. It's going to happen, but you definitely need to take your time. I know a lot of new sewers, when they begin, they want to finish that project. They want to do it in one day. It is not going to happen. Break up your time, which is number 9. Break up your time. So I'm going to tell you my strategy, and it works well for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but we're going to try it out, okay? What I like to do is I cut one day, and the next day I sew. Because cutting itself, listen, in sewing, 85% of what you do is cutting. I can promise you that. Cutting takes the longest. After you cut, that sewing comes together. So make sure when you doing your projects, you cut one day or in one session. The next session you do your sewing. The next session you do your hemming and whatever finishing techniques that you need to do. However you want to do it. But my rule of thumb is 30 minutes a day. After 30 minutes, I put it away. Come back another 30 minutes the next day or the day later on that day. Another 30 minutes, put it away. Don't try to sit there at your sewing table for hours and hours, because the longer you sit there, the longer you're going to get tired, you're going to get frustrated, and you're probably going to throw that machine out the window. So let's prevent all that, and let's take our time and break up our time. Number 10, trust the process. Trust the process. And I like to talk about this a lot because when I'm working with my students, they don't understand that your first project is not going to be perfect. Your first few projects is not going to be perfect. Give yourself credit. And what I mean by that, if you can complete that project, I don't care if the stitch is falling apart, you got strings here, strings there. Is it done? Did you do it? Did you learn something new from that particular project? Give yourself credit. Trust the process. One thing I don't want you to do is give up. Oh, this ain't for me. It may not be for you. Sewing is not for everybody, but if you put your heart into it and you really have that passion for sewing, give yourself time, give yourself credit, trust the process, and make it work for yourself, okay? Again, my name is Diana. I'm going to be dropping the fire sewing knowledge. If you like this video, like I said, give me a thumbs up. If there's some knowledge or something you want me to talk about, a topic, drop it in the comments because I've got you. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. watch my next video, and y'all have a great day.